Hi, I'm Ann V. Brady, and I will be reading an excerpt from Chapter 8 of my book, A New Beginning, the story of my adoption, life, and service. Illustrated by Eric C. Brady. Chapter 8. We arrived in El Paso in late afternoon. We drove to the company orderly room. The first sergeant was sitting on the steps with the CQ and his driver. I reported in to the first sergeant. He told us we could stay in the guest house overnight. We explained that we had brought our dog with us. He suggested we could sneak the dog into the guest house. We told him we would get a hotel. We were worried if we snuck M&M into the guest house and got caught, I would be in trouble. We thanked him and left to find a hotel. We found one near base that was animal friendly, so we didn't have to hide the dog. The next day, I reported in and signed off of leave. I processed in, and housing helped us to find a house to rent. I went to work at William Beaumont Army Medical Center in clinical investigations. It was on the last floor of WBAMC. We found a house to rent pretty quickly. The house had 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. It was a ranch, and it had a fenced-in front yard and a fenced-in backyard. I enrolled Eric in the On Post Daycare Center. It was convenient because it was between work and home. The people told us that it never rained in El Paso and that there was very little snow in the winter. During the winter, it might get as warm as 70 degrees in the daytime and as low as 40 degrees in the night. Ed got a job working for a car dealership, working in the parts department. Eric had started wearing glasses. It caused problems because he thought everyone was staring at him. We found a solution that solved the problem. One day, I received orders for Primary Leadership and Discipline course, PLDC. It was a month-long course for NCOs, primarily E5s. We were given a list of things we had to bring with us. The course was held at Fort Bliss, El Paso, Texas, in a facility that used to be a stockade. It was fenced in by a tall fence and 2 guard towers. The gates were locked for the first 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, the gates were no longer locked at night. The cadre told us that if we left now, we would be considered AWOL. We were given a list of rules that we had to follow, including no cursing. The first week, we lost 2 or 3 soldiers because of infractions. One soldier was an NCO having marital problems. Every night for a week, he would call his wife, accusing her of cheating on him and cussing her out loudly. We had to take leadership courses and learn drill and ceremony. We took turns leading squads in drill and ceremony out in the courtyard. We practiced marching, giving our squad orders such as forward, march, halt, about, face. The cadre drilled into us the correct pronunciation of orders. They told us it was attention, not a tin hut. They said a tin hut was a dwelling, not an order. Some NCOs forgot to yell halt, and their squad marched into the fence. When that happened, the cadre would yell at the squad leader and at the squad. The cadre told the squad that they should have enough common sense to halt before hitting the fence. We had to run an obstacle course after a few days. We had to do push-ups, sit-ups, hand-over-hand bars, low crawl, high crawl, and run. The whole time the cadre are yelling at us to hurry up. I was going across the hand-over-hand bars and reached the end. I jumped down and my left leg crumpled underneath me. My knee had locked and I couldn't straighten it out. Cadre started yelling at me to start crawling. I told him as soon as my knee unlocks, I will. He thought I had broken my leg. My knee unlocked and I finished the low and high crawl by dragging my left leg behind me on the low crawl, while cadre yelled, "Get up, get down, get up," the whole way. My knee became stiff after that, but I managed to do what I needed to do to pass the course. I finally asked to go on sick call for my knee as I had trouble bending it. The ER doctor gave me a profile for a week. When I went to see him again, he assured me that my knee was fine. I asked for a referral to an orthopedist. He balked at this suggestion. My left knee was still slightly swollen, and I wanted an expert to look at it. He told me that if I took too much time from PLDC, I wouldn't pass the course. I told him, so write me a referral for an appointment after my graduation date from PLDC. He finally agreed. I was passing my courses. After 2 weeks, we were allowed to go home for the weekend. It was nice to have Ed and Eric pick me up. The last week, we went to the field for exercises. The night before we left for the field, one of the male students was taken away in an ambulance. He had appendicitis and had to have emergency surgery. We were told that because he missed going to the field, he would have to take the course all over from the start. I enjoyed going out to the field. I dug my first foxhole. We not only had classes, but we had to give classes on how to set up concertina wire, first aid, setting up claymore mines, etc. We had to break up into pairs and build a foxhole as deep as the tallest person in the duo. The shortest person had to stand on sandbags. We spent one day and night defending our foxhole. Every 2 hours, our password and challenge word would change. At the end of the week, we went back and graduated and decided to get rid of the Fiat and bought a Chevy Blazer. Four-wheel drive with a removable top. We would drive out to the desert in the Blazer. Other times, we would drive to Alamogordo, New Mexico. We drove to Las Cruces, New Mexico on Sundays because of Texas state blue laws. Below is a picture of us with our Chevy Blazer. It's got a white roof, vinyl roof, and we're sitting on a blanket in the middle of the desert, and the truck is a dark blue. And then there's a picture of me and Eric. I've got my long hair, and Eric is sitting next to me, and the car is behind us, and we have the desert. We're in the middle of the desert. The next picture is of Alamogordo, New Mexico, where we're in the mountains, and I've got my long hair and a heavy jacket on, and there's a tree in the back with the mountains going up behind me. We became friends with our neighbors. Our next door neighbor was a female truck driver. Several doors down was a couple with children. He was a sergeant in the Army, and she was a stay-at-home mom. After about 2.5 months, Ed asked me to get him the hell out of El Paso. We bought a 6-inch satellite dish because cable prices were exorbitant. We found a lot of wild feeds with some good shows. One station we found was a Caribbean superstation. We used to buy subscriptions. We tried to buy subscriptions to HBO with Showtime, but they wouldn't let satellite dish owners subscribe to their service. When they finally did, they charged satellite dish owners a higher price than cable subscribers had to pay. We found an organization that supported dish owners called CSAT. It later changed its name to KSAT. They fought for legislation that would let satellite companies compete with cable companies and force companies like HBO and Showtime to charge satellite customers the same as cable customers. Several months of working on a research project on T cells, my boss assigned me to work on a research project to test the efficacy of rapid antigen strep A test on patients with sore throats. I was assigned to a pediatric clinic where I could analyze throat swabs from children. I had to swab a blood agar plate, then place the swab in a special liquid. Then I put the liquid into the cartridge. If 2 lines showed up, the test was positive for strep A. I would record the results of the rapid antigen test. At the end of the day, I would take the blood agar dishes to the microbiology laboratory. There, I would place the plates in the incubator for 24 to 48 hours. My boss had arranged for me to use the incubator and to use agglutination cards to test for strep A, B, C, and G. I was looking to see how accurate the test was, how many false positives and false negatives. During that time, I went to the orthopedic clinic to see about my left knee. The doctor took x-rays of my knee and didn't see anything. So he, so he performed an arthrogram. It was inconclusive. In 1985, I had arthroscopic surgery on my left knee. They removed broken meniscus from my left um, from my left knee, and I found I had no left anterior cruciate ligament. Doctor told me that he could attach an LCL to my knee, but it would be on I would be on convalescent leave for months and would have to stay in El Paso. I told the doctor no. One of our neighbors belonged to the Shriners Club. Shriners. In fact, he was a Shriner clown. Once we had asked our truck driver neighbor to watch Eric for us. She did a great job. The only problem was that she gave him 3 baths in one day. My other neighbor, the stay-at-home mom, seemed to look down on me because I was in the military. She thought I should be home with Eric. We didn't spend time together much with this couple. She also told me one time that Jehovah's Witnesses told her that the Bible stated that you could only have communion once a year. I told her that Jesus said, "Whenever you do this, do it in remembrance of me." She then told me they take it to mean once a year. We decided to go to the racetrack in New Mexico. It was on the border of Texas and New Mexico. We went about 2 or 3 times. Every time we went, we would see the first sergeant there. The first time we saw him, he asked us not to say anything to anybody at the company. He didn't want his wife finding out he was there. We took Eric with us in his stroller. We would bet $2 or $3 on each race, have hot dogs and drinks while we watched the races. We also took Eric to Carlsbad Caverns. We walked the tour, and halfway down, we left Eric at their daycare center. Ed took pictures of different parts of the cavern. It was so cool. That is the end for today, and I'll read more tomorrow. And thank you for listening to me, and I hope you buy my book.